Today I've got a guest who has a fabulous story to tell. Her name is Kim. She's from Melbourne. She's been part of Paddison Program Support, which is the platform in which I can help people personally for a number of years, but I didn't get to meet her in person until just recently when she attended a conference in Melbourne that I was part of, Doctors for Nutrition. It was a fabulous conference, and I got the pleasure of meeting Kim and hearing just the profound changes, improvements that she's been able to make by following the Paddison program, plant-based diet, and it's absolutely awesome. And we have now connected for her to share her story, and not just her story, but lots of actionable, implementable tips for you to follow as well if you're down a similar path and on the Paddison program or thinking about implementing it. So, Kim, thank you so much for joining me today.
No worries at all. It was lovely to meet you.
Yes, we really had a great chat. It was you and myself and a few other folks who were part of our little network of let's help ourselves against the most monstrous disease kind of group.
Yeah.
And we had a bit of a laugh and we had a chat and we exchanged some experiences. So I'm looking forward to getting into that detail in a minute. And as I said a moment ago, we're going to allow a lot of time for you and I to talk about implementable tips and suggestions and guidelines. So we'll spend a portion of the time talking about your story. But first of all, just give us the highlight reel. Give us the snapshot of before and after.
So I was pretty much diagnosed in 2014 with RA, and I'd had a previous flare about 18 months earlier, which seemed to subside. So ended up with the rheumatologist putting me on methotrexate, and then probably about 6 months later on Plaquenil as well. Before I got to see the rheumatologist, the doctor put me on prednisolone just to help with the pain until I could see the rheumatologist. And then eventually started the Paddison program, and I'm good, great, back to normal pretty much, other than a little bit of pain still in my feet, and that's about it. So otherwise I'm, doing really well.
That's fantastic. And you're off those medications completely, right?
Yes. Yep. Completely off them.
Awesome. Okay. Well, looking forward to covering your experience with those drugs, also your experience with managing pain and the experimental phase of what worked, what didn't work. And of course, then we'll get into all of the interesting stuff about how you use the Paddison program and what aspects of it were most crucial and so on. So 2014, that takes us back from where we are now about 5 years. Tell us, symptoms began. What was the course of progression with the condition before you hit those drugs that the doctor put you on?
So pretty much I just woke up one morning and stepped out of bed and my ankle was sore. And I just thought, I've sprained my ankle. I don't remember spraining my ankle, but okay. And then a couple of days later, I got all this fluid and swelling under the foot, and I sort of started going, this is, a bit strange. I know that fractures sometimes have swelling, and I'm thinking, surely I can't have fractured it and not have even known. And then a couple of days later after that, the other foot started hurting, and I thought, I've been on that foot a lot because I'm not using the other foot, so that must be why.
Yeah.
And then it just seemed to spread all over my body. So about a week later, I was just pain all over my body, and I thought, I've got to stop going to work and just have a week off.
Yeah.
Obviously I've got the flu and I just need to recover. But it just got worse and worse. And, it got to the point that in the mornings I couldn't actually put my ankle on the ground, like physically could not get my ankle to go on the ground, obviously from the swelling, etc. And so I was sort of like half hobbling on my tiptoes and then sort of crawling and trying to get to the bathroom in the morning and get around to start with. So at that point I just went, there's something really not right here. So I went off to the doctors and went into her office, and she just said, how can I help you today? And I just burst into tears. I just have never had that sort of, pain before. She wasn't sure exactly what it was. There's lots of different, she said it could have been an insect bite, some sort of virus. attacking my joints. So she sent me off a blood test for, Lyme disease and Ross River fever and all of that stuff. And she got my CRP and popped me on prednisolone just to help with the pain and inflammation. A couple of days later, my blood test came back and my CRP was in the 50 range somewhere.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what it was. So
right. Yeah. Wow. Gee, it came on quick, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just talking with another guest on an episode just a few prior to our recording now about when you have a really good, strong, powerful, youthful immune system, the disease can progress extremely quickly because the immune system's operating in its programmed way, but we're the enemy against this powerful immune system.
Yeah.
And my rheumatologist said, look, he sees this a lot, especially with like young people with good immune systems that become cross-wired with the disease. The progression is rapid, which is what you saw definitely.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
So when you saw the rheumatologist, how did he sort of outline, or he or she outline the course of treatment?
Well, to start with, I just was on the prednisolone for 3 months, and then my doctor weaned me off it. And the reason I was on it for a bit longer was because I actually had my first overseas trip. So I'm freaking out thinking I'm not going to get to go on this trip,
Yeah.
And so she weaned me off it and it actually went away. So she just thought it was a virus that was attacking my joints. So it wasn't until 18 months later that I was driving to work and all of a sudden I felt the pain in my elbow. And I'm just going, no. I actually said it out loud. I'm not having this stupid thing back again. I can't do that again.
Yeah.
But it's spread again really quickly. But this time I got to the doctors a lot quicker. So then she referred me to the rheumatologist. So he had a look at me and just diagnosed me with RA, which the doctor said I might have. So I'd already researched it. Or saw all the horrible things about it and thought, oh, no, I don't want any of that stuff. Yeah, so she sent me to the rheumatologist. The rheumatologist diagnosed me with RA, and he pretty much said that they need to hit it quick. And I said to him, well, I don't want to end up in a wheelchair because that was the things that I'd read. And he said, well, I'm not planning on you being in a wheelchair. And he said that he'd try me on methotrexate first and see how we go. He said often he has to combine drugs or mix things around until he finds what works for each individual person. And then pretty much just gave me an A4 sheet of all the side effects of methotrexate. I had a look at all of that and kind of freaked out.
Did you ask for a thinking period or did you just say, okay, I'm going for it?
No, it's too much pain. I'm just like,
too much pain.
And all the, degradation of my joints and stuff. So I'm just like, no, I'm just going to go on it.
Were you still on the steroid at the time?
Yes. So he pretty much wanted me on the methotrexate and, going from the lowest amount and increasing it, every week or two. And and then he said once that's working, he'd wean me off the prednisolone.
Oh, wow. There was like a ramping on, an onboarding process for the methotrexate.
Yep. So it was within, take this amount. And then I think it was like 10 milligrams or something initially. And then it was like 15 milligrams, then 20 milligrams. And then I ended up on 25 milligrams, the full amount. So it was like he wanted to hit it hard, I suppose. Yeah,
25 milligram off the bat is hard. But if you're at 50 odd, I know it was the first time round you hit sort of 50 plus C-reactive protein. And of course, normal range is less than 5. So if you're anywhere like you were first time round, then that's obviously and could argue that that's an appropriate amount of offense against the kind of attack. Hey, the onboarding and ramp up like that, I haven't actually seen before. Normally, or at least put it this way, haven't seen it done in a fast fashion like that. I ended up doing that, but it was, let's start you on 10, see how you go. A couple of visits later, okay, we need to increase it a little bit up, try again. That was my experience.
Okay.
How did you tolerate the methotrexate, both in terms of symptoms reduction, but also side effects?
So in terms of symptom reduction, it definitely started to help the joint pain itself, but not the aching all over my body. So it definitely helped, but didn't help fully, which, I mean, the rheumatologist had said he might need to combine drugs to get it fully under control. So that was okay. In terms of side effects, it was a nightmare. It was just awful, like so nauseated and sick, exhaustion to the point that I couldn't even do grocery shopping. Like I'd get halfway through grocery shopping and feel like I was just going to pass out.
Yeah.
So it was just an absolute nightmare. I remember my family, we had a wedding or something on, and, you know, was looking for a wedding dress. And I remember one of them holding me up while they're looking around and quickly bringing stuff to me. And then after about 2 stores, Mum said, "You can't do any more, can you?" And I'm like, "No," and went home. So yeah, it was pretty full on the effects.
Yeah, wow. Like holding you up, just sort of just keep holding your arm just to make sure that you're not going to fall over.
Yeah.
That's obviously as extreme as you could ever want. I had a similar experience with methotrexate, and I was doing Bikram yoga as well, which exhausts me at any time. Even after coming off the drug, I find it's a tiring, very tiring, exercise.
Yeah.
But combining methotrexate, Bikram yoga, and being only on raw foods, man, I mean, I was like you. I was just so exhausted, and the best way I can describe it is just feeling like a zombie, like
Yes.
just like brain fog, and feeling like I say I was alive, but I didn't feel like I was living.
Yeah.
That's and anyone who's thinking about going on it, here's the weird thing. I think that it's probably the best one. That's what's crazy. That's what's crazy. It's kind of it gets pretty bad after methotrexate in terms of where you go from there. But anyway, tell me, Plaquenil was then added. How did the additional drug impact you?
Yeah, so pretty much he was really concerned about how much the methotrexate was affecting me energy-wise. And he said, well, that's not a way that you're going to live very well. So he would put me on the Plaquenil in the hopes of getting me off the methotrexate. But I only managed to reduce my dosage to 20 milligrams. And then I tried to get to the 15, and I just ended up with a massive flare for 2 weeks. So he said, obviously we need to keep you on the methotrexate because it's obviously doing its job. But what I noticed with the Plaquenil was that it was helping the aching all over my body.
Interesting.
So, yeah, really interesting. The methotrexate seemed to help the joint pain, but the Plaquenil seemed to help the aching. Yeah,
Okay.
so I sort of ended up on
Both
of them, methotrexate 20 milligrams and the Plaquenil 1 tablet a day. So
it sounds like Plaquenil actually was the suitable addition, and to give it the appropriate recognition, because on with other guests sometimes we've trashed the drug about how much they've struggled on it, and I've given examples of others who've struggled. And so, just to be fair with your experience, did you ever get anything like the giant heartbeats or the feeling of panic and stuff that can sometimes come with it? No. Okay. Well, it's fantastic. Then the doctor has done a wonderful job in finding a combination that's got your symptoms under control. Obviously, the number one goal for the rheumatologist is minimize future joint damage, develop what they call remission, which is just, heavily sedated, heavily drugged situation to suppress symptoms.
yeah.
And so that was great. So what went wrong after that? How come, where did it start to fall apart, or did it not? And you've just found our program and just started to go for it.
Yeah, so pretty much once I got diagnosed, I obviously told my bosses what was going on, and they said that one of the other work colleagues had Hashimoto's, and that she had successfully helped herself with diet. So they told me to go and speak to her. So I went and had a chat to her, and she had done a heap of research, and she didn't have the same stuff that you had, but she started me on a program which was, getting rid of dairy, getting rid of sugar, and more fruit, vegetables, meat, that sort of thing. So getting rid of processed foods, all of that. And so that really helped. I was on that for about 10 months, and that really helped my energy levels. I lost a heap of weight, and so it was really beneficial. But I got to a point where I just plateaued, and I didn't get any more improvements. I couldn't reduce my meds. And so she'd actually given me your brochure from a Go Vita magazine.
Which is a health food store that I've presented at and hosted their conference on a couple of occasions. So all of their staff who run their stores, or their store owners, are familiar with my story, with my work, because of witnessing my story at their conference. So that's how I'm piecing the dots together here.
Yeah. So she pretty much said, look, you can do it with diet because this person's done it. So that's when I went, okay, right, well, he's actually had rheumatoid arthritis, so I'm going to have a look at it. And I had a look at it and thought, well, it's worth giving it a go. Sort of jumped in from there. So, that was in November 2015.
Okay. How did the process unfold with the, how did you feel, and how challenging was it, and how long did it take before you realised you were onto something?
So the first day was an absolute nightmare. And I only got through about, I think, a litre of the cucumber and celery juice.
Yes.
And I felt so ill, it wasn't funny. And I just went, oh my gosh, I can't do this. There's something really wrong. My housemate at the time, she was really good. And she's just like, well, it's either this or you're in pain for the rest of your life on those drugs. And I'm like, yep. I couldn't do I couldn't do much with that, and I ended up going, I can't do this. So I just ended up having water, and until I could start on the
day 3.
The next process. The issue was I found out later that actually the cucumber was a reaction food for me.
How about that? That's rare. That's rare, but I've heard this before a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
Right.
So then I just ended up on the day 3 stuff, and just had celery and carrot sticks, and some of the quinoa and basmati and stuff, and so I just started it from there. I felt headachy, tired, some heart palpitations, so I really struggled to start with. But writing on your forum going, I'm not good.
Yes.
And so you said I could introduce the sweet potato, I think, a day early.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And my mum came and cooked me a whole batch of sweet potato soup, which was lovely.
Yes.
And then I started from there, and that really helped. And then, I sort of went from there. I started recording, my pain levels in different joints and stuff.
Yeah.
But I wasn't noticing a lot of difference.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I stopped doing it because every morning I'd wake up feeling depressed because I had to,
write the same numbers down again.
Yeah. So I can't even tell you when I started noticing a difference. It just, I don't know, slowly, I suppose it just happened. And there was just slow improvements here and there.
That's fascinating, how different it is for everyone, because, I have, with my hand on my heart, told people in the past, and even used as kind of text on my website at times, that most people can halve their pain in 2 weeks. And that's because that's the truth. And in your case, you wouldn't have met that sort of situation. You have had the very, very gradual or slow change that does come up again from time to time. Like your cucumber intolerance, that's very rare. And same with your slow response at first, not noticing much. That also is very rare. But we can see from you that no two people are the same, and that if we trust the process sufficiently with how long this took for you to feel better, we have to understand that eventually, if you put enough of nature's perfect foods into your body, eventually the biological ability of your body to repair does begin.
Yeah.
So, you know. Yeah, because you've removed all the things that are going to create fermentation and toxicity and so forth in your digestive system by taking out the meat, dairy, and the oils. And that just leaves plant foods. And these plant foods are synergistic with the body, and stuff's gonna work eventually.
Yeah.
So you've started to gradually feel better, and probably noticed after a couple of months, say, I am feeling better, and that's enough motivation as well as our support and encouragement online for you to say, okay, I'm just going to keep at this. When did you really realize now you could start talking about medication reduction and all that? When did the sort of the real powerful part of this kick in?
Well, I kind of did things a bit differently in terms of how I thought about it. So I pretty much told myself I wasn't even thinking about medication reduction until I'd done a year on the program.
Uh-huh.
That was my goal, was I was going to do a year and then from there assess it. So pretty much a year to the date was when I was just doing so well. My CRPs were down to 2. And I'm thinking, how am I going to, mention it to my rheumatologist that I want to try reducing it? But I never had to mention it to him. He did it all. So he just saw how good I was going and just started reducing me.
Now, this is absolutely fascinating. Did he start to reduce the Plaquenil first or simultaneously lower both?
He started reducing the methotrexate initially first.
Okay.
And because I was still quite exhausted.
Because of your feedback on that, because you were telling him it sucks, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what he wanted to try and reduce first.
Okay.
So he reduced that first. It was maybe 5 milligrams, over 3 months, and kept on going. And then at one point, he said, "Okay, which drug do you want to reduce now?" And I'm like, I just thought I'd keep on getting off the methotrexate. But what had come back in my blood test was my ALT and my ASTs were getting out of normal range.
Yes.
So obviously my liver wasn't coping very well. So I think he probably just wanted to get me
off that. Well, he would have taken you off that straight away once that started, right? The methotrexate?
Yes. No, he actually took me straight off the Plaquenil.
When your ALT and AST went up?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I wasn't as aware that drug could raise the liver enzymes as well.
Yeah, I don't know. But, he just took me straight off the Plaquenil.
Uh-huh.
And then I kept with the methotrexate for a little bit longer, and then I started reducing that.
Wow.
Again. Probably reduced it half, methotrexate halfway. Then I got taken off the Plaquenil, and then I reduced the methotrexate the rest of the way.
I think what's good to note here is that the first reduction of 5 milligram of methotrexate took 3 months. And that's really important for everyone to appreciate.
Yeah.
It's not like, it was half the dosage and then more again next month. I mean, 5 milligram, if you're starting on 25 and then you reduce down to 20, it's what's that, a 20% reduction over a 3-month period. The body has plenty of time to reassess where it's at and for symptoms to present themselves if they're going to present themselves, and for your body to reacclimatize with that level of intervention. And so, again, another smart move from the rheumatologist. And I definitely learned something about the Plaquenil maybe contributing to the ALT, AST increase. I had not known that before, so that's really interesting. And when he took the Plaquenil out of the mix, did the ALT and AST return to normal?
It started returning a little bit better, and then once I was fully off the methotrexate, then it's back to normal completely.
Yeah, I think the doctors are okay with it being just a little elevated, but if these two markers stay elevated for a long time or very elevated, it can be concerning because obviously it's like it's liver toxicity, right? It's the liver having basically difficulty. Wow. Okay. Fantastic. All right. Well, that's obviously brilliant. Now, after coming off the drugs, just to conclude on your story before we start sharing tips and things we need to emphasize and stuff, did you notice that you had to work harder with getting more simple on the foods, or did you see that things were stable well after the medication?
So I definitely had some increased pain, reducing medication, which I knew was going to happen because you've got it all, formulated on your forums. So I was expecting that. So pretty much I remember one time my legs were just aching, something chronic. And so I'm like, right, off to the gym. So, went off to the gym and did about half an hour on the treadmill. And then afterwards I got off and I went, oh, my gosh, thank goodness that pain's really subsided.
Yeah, awesome.
So I just pretty much tackled any of the increased pain with some sort of, physical movement.
God, I love it. I love it. This is what I try and tell everyone to do. Yeah, I love it.
I even remember I had some, I think it was elbow pain or something one day that was flaring up. And, I remember I was just like flicking my elbow back and forth, just, moving that elbow, because I was at work, I couldn't do anything else. And it helped.
It helps. I mean, the thing is only a joint because it's meant to move. It's its only purpose is to move. And a joint is obviously not as strong in terms of weight bearing. It's not as reliable and robust as a straight piece of bone. So the body has simply said, look, I'm going to compromise everything so I can put something in here that can create movement. And so that's the only purpose of the joint, is to move. So we've got to move it. And we have to move it in a way normally that's way more than what we expect. We think that if it's inflamed, if we just move it a little bit, do a little bit of that just to keep the elbow moving, that might loosen it up. No, we need to take it to levels that surprise ourselves and surprise people around us if they knew what we were doing. Because if there's inflammation trapped in there, it needs even more attention than ever before, because we have to not just give it its daily typical motion, but over and above to try and clear out problems that are in there. So
I think I did about 100 repetitions of it.
Awesome. Yeah, it's fabulous. So this is textbook stuff. Everything you've done is just textbook stuff and brilliant. So let's now talk about what your diet looks like now. Are you frequently resetting back to baseline, or are the foods in the baseline just part of a broader group of foods that you can now enjoy?
I eat so much stuff. I've got heaps of variety and choices. Now I don't need to reset if something happens to randomly, like if I've been away, somewhere and something's been given to me that's a bit funny or something. I just have to stop having that, for a couple of days and then it's gone. So I don't need to reset as such. Yep.
You slowly kind of realign and rebalance, comes back to the body after just a day or two, away from whatever some external trigger was that's out of your day-to-day normal.
That's right. So I eat fruits and vegetables and pastas and rice and all normal sort of stuff, salads. So it's just without all the processed stuff and without the meat and oils, and it's great.
Brilliant. Okay, let's talk about some tips you might have for some viewers or listeners. What do you think is the most important part of this process to emphasize? Would it be some of the foods, the exercise? Would it be having to do all parts of it that's most important? I mean, can you give us some insights for you? What was crucial?
I think the first thing is the fact that it's an elimination type, diet, because the things that I found I was reacting to, I would never have any idea, like things like pumpkin I still don't eat. It gives me headaches. I've got absolutely no idea why. But, things that you eat all the time, every day, I think if you just eliminated those things and didn't do the elimination style that you've got, you would have no clue that these things that you think are really good foods are actually triggering your RAs. So I think the most important thing is to do the plan as you've said it and slowly introduce stuff properly so that you can really, see whether you get a reaction or not. Because it only takes one or two foods and you're going to feel awful and not realize what's going on.
How true. It does, doesn't it? Just one or two foods and you think, this sucks, I'm in pain, or as you had it, like, I have headaches. Then you make some huge deductions from that and you say, this isn't working for me, I'm not making progress, I'm losing hope. I mean, all these things start to play on your mind immediately once you don't feel like you're still in a healing groove.
Yeah.
And again, to reinforce your comment about the importance of it being an elimination process, I consider that just imperative because so many of us have these random food sensitivities. Like just like you, I still a bit wary about bananas. I'm wary about broccoli.
Yep. Broccoli I can't do either.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. It's mainly, I think it's blueberries, broccoli, and pumpkin are still the things that I don't have.
and to other people, they'd be like, "What are you talking about? How can you not eat blueberries, pumpkin, and broccoli?" I mean, these are healthy plant foods, right?
Yeah.
So this is where it becomes way beyond the scope of just saying, "Hey, just go and do like a vegan diet." It's way more complicated than that.
Absolutely.
Because that alone will probably enable, say, half of the people with RA to get rid of some symptoms. But on just a vegan diet, you still can eat, French fries and Coca-Cola and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you're still miles and miles from even the starting point. So that's a fabulous insight about just the crucial part of following the reintroduction process in a regimented way so that you can make these discoveries.
Yeah, I was very set with exactly doing what you said. So I didn't introduce anything earlier, like it was just exactly what you'd written down.
Beautiful. Did you find there were some easy victories with the food reintroductions? Like, were fruits particularly easy or veggies?
No, not really. I think the thing is initially you get heaps of no's, which can be a bit disappointing. But I remember because I did it like a month before Christmas. So I remember Christmas Day going, right, I'm introducing potatoes because I just can't have Christmas without potatoes. Potatoes were a win. So that was a positive. Fruits I found a bit more challenging. I tried oranges, I tried rock melon. They were all no's, and I was writing that on the forum, and you said to try papaya. And so I tried papaya, and that was a yes. So, that was just great.
That's so exciting. Like, I just got goosebumps on my left leg. It's just so exciting when you can handle papaya. When you can handle papaya, it's basically like, this is the weirdest metaphor that sprung into my head. Do you remember those arcade games that used to be at cafes, and they were the old, like there was a little spaceship and some things went across the screen and you had to try and shoot them, right? Yeah, you're just old enough to remember that. So anyway, with one of them, after a while, if you shot and killed enough of the aliens, then another little supportive spaceship would come and attach to yours. So now you had like a little supportive spaceship and it was shooting bullets too. So now you're shooting out of two little spaceships, not just the one. And that's what it's like when you can add papaya. It's like now you've got this extra firepower for digestion that you didn't have before. And that is so helpful. And it's now you're going at it like with twice the amount of firepower. So that just randomly sprung to mind, but I think it's a good metaphor as long as you're over the age of about, 30?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, so that's super cool. So papaya was a win, and you had potatoes. At that point, you're setting yourself up for some, really healthy and yummy meals. But potatoes obviously such a fantastic staple to have in
Yeah.
your diet. Okay, good. Stepping aside from the food reintroductions, was there any other aspect that you emphasized? Like, did you salad with every meal, and did you do green smoothies, things like that?
So I really struggled with salads for whatever reason, or the lettuce and stuff just made me feel not good at all. So what I actually did was with the carrot and celery sticks, I deliberately ate a heap of them before I had my normal meal. So I was trying to get those enzymes and stuff, working in a way that I could do. And then I eventually got onto iceberg lettuce, which I know is not, the best, but it's still something. And then eventually onto cos lettuce and spinach. So
Wow,
yeah, it took
cool.
me a little while, but I still implemented it in the way that I could implement it. Yeah.
So yeah, you kind of did like greens food reintroductions almost, so that you could
Yeah.
eventually get to cost lettuce. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
You had it tough, huh? This is some tough stuff. Like, you're clearly, what you're telling me here is not one aspect of this was easy.
No, not at all. No, it was pretty full on. It was like, a joke about the fact that, hey, at the moment I can only have about 5 ingredients.
What was the total amount of time from when you started until you were able to feel that, you had a large range of foods where you didn't have to reset frequently, and it all felt like you're in a lot of control?
That's a good question. Um, Look, I'd probably say maybe the 6 month-ish mark, I started to
Okay.
feel like,
Okay.
yeah, I had a decent amount of, foods that I could eat.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So probably about then. Yeah, and then I got to a point, I don't know, a little bit after that, where I wasn't as keen to introduce new stuff. I felt like I had a
Mm.
good range. People would say to me, "Oh, have you tried anything new this week or whatever?" And I'm like, "Nah, nah, I'm right with what I've got." So, yeah, yeah. So I'd say between that 6 months to 1 year mark, I really, started to feel like I had a good variety and was happy with what I was eating.
Yeah, that's really, really stimulated my memory on this, because what I used to do as well is I would get to a point and I felt like, just like yourself, safe, and it feels
Yep.
safe to be there. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, there are other foods, and some of them seem appealing, but quite a lot of them not. Like, for instance, all the different vegetables like cauliflower and maybe beans, like green beans and things like this. And yeah, sure, they on paper seem like things that would I'd tolerate quite well at time, but at the same time, um, I had no interest in those foods. Like, what are they? How are they going to add to my life?
Yeah.
I was interested much more so in different types of legumes, right? So I could have different beans and rice and different lentil flavors and stuff like that. Because also, from a point of view of, I don't know, just more hearty and masculine foods that will help me gain muscle and stuff, I sort out those. Um, but I certainly wanted the feeling more, which was to not get inflamed. And so I
Yeah.
would stay where I was for
Yeah.
months when I felt like I was onto something and onto a winner.
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And my most exciting food that was reintroduced, because I actually had a sorbitol intolerance because I had IBS. And yeah, the day I remember writing on the forum going, I can eat an apple. Like, it
Wow.
was just incredible. Yeah, so my sorbitol intolerance is completely gone. And yeah, eating apples and pears and stuff was just so exciting.
Wow. That's great. So the IBS completely went?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. You get that one for free, huh? When you get rid of rheumatoid.
I know, it's great.
Okay. All right. There's some great insights. Is there anything else that comes to mind that you did that you think might be helpful if someone else is going through this?
I suppose some of the little things that I worked out was like, herbs and spices. Often we sort of say, oh, that should be fine. But I actually found that I didn't tolerate the herbs and spices from the supermarket, like your oregano and garlic and onion powder.
Yeah.
But from the health food store, the organic stuff, I was fine with it. So I suppose if people are having still a bit of pain, like really micro look at what you're eating, because, even the herbs and spices I introduced one by one to see how I went with them. So the other thing was reducing the medication, was realising that some of the foods I thought were safe actually weren't safe, but the medication was masking it. So I think that's the other thing too, if you're reducing your meds, to re-look at what food you're eating and, experiment a bit to see, so like nutritional yeast was something that, was upsetting me that I thought was safe, which I can have now, no problems at all. But back then, reducing the meds, I worked out, no, that was actually a no, but I thought it was a yes.
Yeah, I can see why you've done so well and you've gotten the results that you have, because your insightfulness is really acute. And so with that kind of level of insightfulness, obviously you have that ability to work all this out. So, it tells me a lot that you're able to notice these little sort of things. And these things are so real, is that the drug is masking our reactions to everything we're eating to some extent. And yes, if we're reacting a little bit to something and the drug is covering our symptoms, then when the drug lowers, suddenly now that becomes apparent, which is why I have guidelines around coming off the medications. And one of those guidelines is that you are ready and prepared both physically and mentally or emotionally for a pain increase. Because if you're on the threshold of being only able to, handle your current level of discomfort, even if your blood tests look good and your body joint pain, your symptoms to the doctor seem pretty good, but if you and your body feel that this experience is only just manageable, then lowering the drug is not a good idea, because it's going to knock you over the edge and you're going to be unable to, just keep doing what you're doing without getting too distressed.
Yeah, you've got to feel like you've got it under control and okay, I can do this, I can cope with it, absolutely. You have to be prepared for it.
Yeah. You basically feel like you have to have some buffer or some insurance in place. Like, okay, if things worsen a little bit, I'm going to be fine with it. I can handle it, and have enough experience with doing all the things that you did, which is the testing of the foods, the preparation of the foods, having months of experience under your belt, so that if things do go the wrong direction a little bit, there's no panic. Because this panic and stress associated with that also can then trigger, negatively with our symptoms.
Yep.
So it needs to be very calmly and systematically done.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, just telling myself, don't stress, it'll be fine, just give it a go.
That's it. Great. Okay. And you mentioned before some of the exercise components, but is it something that you do on a regular basis at the moment, or is it something that you do on a putting out fire kind of basis?
Yeah, pretty much a putting out fire basis now. So initially, I tried Bikram yoga for a couple of months, but I really didn't cope. Just the energy fatigue, I didn't cope with it. Yep. So I ended up doing yin yoga, because my osteo suggested trying some other yogas, and yin yoga was really, really beneficial. So I was doing that regularly, and big improvements. It was funny initially because, the teacher would be talking about, you should feel, the pain in this particular part of your body, or not pain, but you know what I mean, discomfort or whatever in particular part of your body. I'm thinking, really? No, I'm feeling pain in my fingers or, other random places. So,
that's right. You're trying to find a place that doesn't hurt.
Yeah. So yeah, it was really funny, and it was good because you saw the progress then when eventually actually you were feeling the muscle stretch and
Mm,
stuff, and not all the pain.
mm,
I remember, like, I think it was lion's pose, and you're supposed to put your hands, like, backwards behind you, and I'm like, there was no way I could do that, and slowly, little by little, that started getting better and better until I could just do it without any problems. Yeah, so that was really important. And then, yeah, I was doing some gym sessions as well, just half an hour, nothing, full on, just sort of more cardio stuff.
mm,
Yeah, so I didn't have to go massively into the exercise, but I utilized it anytime I, needed
mm,
to.
mm.
Yep.
So you kept up your yoga membership. You kept an ability to go to the gym when you needed it. This
Yeah.
is crucial. This is
Yeah.
crucial. I mean, especially in the US. In the US, gym memberships are so cheap. I have a gym membership that I'm still paying, and I live in Australia. It's so cheap. It's like I'm not even using it, but I just keep it open so that next time
Yeah.
we're there, it's $10 a month. Okay, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it's cheaper than Netflix.
Yeah.
So it really is uh, an easy way for people to know. Again, they have that insurance. They
Yeah.
have that safety net. If you
Yeah.
feel bad, need to go to the gym, go to the gym, please. Don't sit at home and think, like, get the gym membership in place.
Yeah.
Have it as insurance, or ideally go in a preventative way. Go as often as possible, if at all possible.
Yeah, well, definitely initially I was regularly going. And
Yes. Yep.
yeah.
And the yoga, yin yoga, absolutely. Love yin yoga, how the body feels when you walk out. You just feel blissful. Blissful.
Yeah, it was great.
First time I went to a yin yoga after doing a couple of hundred of Bikram classes, and I only knew Bikram as like
Yeah.
yoga. And I go to a yin class and I'm like, is this it? Like, is this
Yeah.
what we're doing? We just have to lie here with my leg tucked under me for 3 minutes? This is like
I was
unbelievable.
thinking it was boring the first class. I'm like, I've done all these Bikram classes and not coped, and then I'm like, oh, this is boring.
Yeah. But then you feel really so good
Yeah,
afterwards.
that's what kept me going back.
Yeah.
Felt so much better after them. Yeah.
Yeah. I know, I do miss them. Okay, well, Kim, thank you so much for sharing all this with us. It's been really great to recap on your story, and for you to inspire our audience to keep doing what they're doing. And yeah, really appreciate you sharing everything you've learned.
No worries. Happy to do so. Thank
All
you
right.
so much for your help.
Yeah, thank you very much.